Welcome back guys, this is Shrikant. Today we are going to start new journey with performance tuning. This journey will help us to understand the problems which are related with the performance or slowness and how to fix them and how to understand the bottleneck first of all. Okay, I will start with the very basic things. I will try to explain you the problem which I face and how I fix the issues in my real-time experience, right? So I'm going to give you hands-on. So some demos will give you a lot of ideas, some demo might not give you the correct idea, but the idea or the concept which I'm going to explain you, that would be helpful. So I'm requesting all of you, please continue this series until I upload all those videos. So let's start with the journey. So today I'm going to explain you the basic problem which a lot of developer faces while working with the SQL Server store procedure, right? So one of my subscriber requested me to give some idea about the slowness of store procedure. Our question is basically why store procedure performs slowly, and if there is an issue in the store procedure of slowness, how do I fix that? So I am going to explain my experience with this question. So basically performance tuning deals with the lot of things. We need to understand the stats, you need to understand the data, you need to understand the query, how do you have return, you need to understand a lot of things, you need to understand the parallelism, weighting stats, the statistics, right? Also sometimes we do uses the wrong joins which really not required. There are a lot of things are there which need to understand. But to start with a simple solution, I'm going to explain you. Sometimes we write a code and that time our data is small because we just start the system and initial data would be very low for the system. After some days, or if we are a good company or we are having a good client, the data get dumped into the database. A lot of data came into the system. So as the time passes, data into the table grows gradually. It it expands exponentially, right? So the code which was written when the initial system was delivered was working good because the data was less. For reading the data, for performing the operations, it was quite good. But after some days, we realized that data has gone exponentially. The query which was we given was not working properly because when we wrote the query, we never thought this company will grow this much or this data will grow this much, right? Great. So sometime the simple solution, the thumb rule I would say, just go through all the code which you have written for the store procedure and then find out the query or find out the block of the code which is performing a very hard or which is taking a lot of time. You need to find out that specific block. Then and then only you can think about the performance. Because if I say I have a store procedure which has 1000 lines, right? So if I say just tune the ESP, so you might have a question, what should I do, right? What should I do here? So don't worry about that. The thing is that out of 1000 line of code, there are 10, 20 lines or 50 lines which are the problematic lines, which are degrading the performance of your store procedure or query. So you need to find out that first. How do you find it out first, right? So the thumb rule I would say, as a real-time guy, I would say, let's say if you have 1000 line of code and you feel that this code is performing when it reaches to 50%, right? So 50% means almost 500 line, right? So do one thing, just apply return them in the code itself. But before debugging or before troubleshooting the store procedures, realize one thing: if you are working on the production, make sure that it's not hampering any table, it's not hampering any work which people are doing. Because if you are working on a store procedure which are inserting, deleting or updating, and the number of time you perform your code operation or the stored procedure calling, it will insert, it will delete, or it will update the data, and which can corrupt your database, which can corrupt your table, and obviously you may get fired. But if you are initial developer, it could happen. But if you are experienced one, just, or for the fresher one, I'm also suggesting just make a copy of that and just go through all the code and see if there is an insert, update, or delete block. If it is there, just make it, or just replace it with the theme tables, create it at top level, right? So you can have all the exposure of the code, you can debug the code. Okay, just come back to the point. So out of 1000 line of code, you just need to go to the 500 line and this place their return and run the code, right? Run the SP, which all proper parameters those you have, and see and observe and understand that till my processor or till my compiler comes to the 500 line, does it take a lot of time, or does it get executed very fast? Just think about that. So when you are executing this stored procedure till the 500 line, if it is taking more than time, let's say your code is taking 10 minutes, right? And out of 10 minutes till reaching to the 500 line, it is taking 6 or 7 minutes, right? So definitely that's a problem for you. Then just tweak it there. Okay. Then do a thing, and now we have a block of 500 line there. So now out of 500 line, now I need to find out a specific block which has a problem. So what will you do? Then do one thing. What will you do? Just go to the 250 number of lines. Okay. So I reached to the line number 250 there. Just place return there and just alter the code and run the SP. Now see how much time it is taking. If it is taking in a less than second or the 10 second, 20 second, then it's fine. So if it is not taking, or if it is taking 5 minutes out of 7 minutes, okay, then think that there is an issue, there is a problem in between the 250 line. Okay, now we will need to find out the main block. Now it is taking a 4 minutes out of 7 minutes. It means that still 4 minutes is not a good number. So what will you do? You will simply go to the again half of that, just a 125 line, and just place a return there and do one thing. Just alter the code, run the code, and see the output, right? Now when you will run the code, you will see the output and you will realize this code is executing in second. It is very fast. So it means that there is no problem till 250 number of lines, right? So line number 255 is okay. So there is no performance problem for that specific block. So now your main focus would be from line number 250 to line number 500, right? So there is a performance problem in between these two, in between this block basically. So again do one thing. Now 250 and 500, just go to 300 or 400 line and apply the same procedure. Apply the return and focus which part of the query is taking time. So after some time, or after spending a 5 or 10 minutes, you will get a specific block where the code is taking time. So don't worry. It will take some time for first time, but when you will be expert, it will not take more than 5 or 10 minutes. But when you are beginner, you need to start from the scratch. So these are the few steps I am telling you as an experienced guy. So now you have a specific block of code and you know there is a problem, and after performing some iteration which I suggested, you will find out the block. So you will just note down, or you will now go to that block and see why this block of code or why this query is taking time. Just think about that. Okay, if there is a looping means if there is someone has used the cursor or someone has used while loop for processing some business logic, just think about that. And you know, for if code is written in the loop, or if code is written in the cursor, it takes a lot of time because it needs to perform the iteration. It needs to perform the operation one by one, row by row, right? So just try to think, if I can replace this entire script by set basic, so I can save a lot of time, right? right? So just try to replace that entire looping part to the set based logic. So I can say procedural logic to the set based logic, you will get an performance issue. So what happened, let's say in that block, let's say you have 1,000 entries or 1,000 rows, and for performing 1,000 operations, it calls the specific block in 1,000 times, right? So 1,000 times the code get called. So when you design the system that time, there were all 5 rows, so it was not that problem. Now it has lot of data, right? And performing that 1,000 operation, it puts lot of data and it do a lot of calculations for performing the values. So it takes time. So just replace and try to replace, if possible, the row based logic to the set based. That is a one simple solution, right? If you do that, you will get a solution. That is a one performance solution. So what I will suggest, revisit the code and find performance bottleneck. Perfect. Then do what? Then think about code, why it is written. If it is a complex code, if complex, then try to rewrite. If a row based calculation or cursor, if row based calculation, basically, right, if row based calculation is there, replace with the set based calculation. Okay, this is basically for the looping. And sometimes what happen, you just simply see a simple code there, simple join. Sometimes recently I was working for one of the performance problem. There I realized one very good case. The case was there was this scenario where deletion was happening there. In the deletion code, there was the left outer join. Yeah, and in the left outer join, they have used some non-null values in or condition. So what was happening there, unnecessary lot of data was pulling and some deletion happened. So pulling that data, it was taking a lot of time. After joining, mismatches was happening. So what I did, I rewrite the code. Initially it was taking 5 minutes just to perform some delete operation. I realized this logic is not correct. So what I did, I made that logic into 2 steps. Because as the developer changes, the logic also changes, but the output should come in. So I changed logic as per my requirement. I realized this code is working correctly, but the way it is written is not correct. So I rewrote the code and it was working good, and it was then giving me output in 5 seconds, right? So 5 minutes to 5 seconds, just by rewriting the code, I got the output. So sometimes you need to think that the code which is written, it is correct, that's fine, it is correct, it is right, okay, but is there any way I can try, or is there any way I can do it better? Yes, if you do better, if you rewrite it just right, give it try. Sometimes giving it try to give you the best result. Okay, so give it try for complex code. Okay, now after doing all this thing, if something is not happen, you have revisited the code, you found the bottleneck, and then you replace the everything, you change the complex logic to the simple logic, you tried a lot of things but nothing is happening. Then you need to do what? Then you need to select that code, then go to the execution plan and then run this query. Here we have the object, right? For example, here I'm writing select star from in table, let's say select one, for example, I'm writing. And if I want to start the execution plan, here we have execution plan, include execution plan, right? The moment I run the code, I can see the new tab here. this dot table, I'm taking the system table, and I on the execution plan. Now let's see what happens. The query is forming here. Right, this is the execution plan. So this is called as the execution. I will talk the execution plan in coming videos, but just to give you a brief idea. So execution plan is very important while dealing with the performance tuning problem. If the query rewrite or the query operation or simple query is not working, right, then you need to go to the complex part. You don't have any option, but I suggested that option, for why I suggested, because sometimes performance problem are very simple. If we rethink the simple way, it can fix all your issues. So if it is a performance, it doesn't mean that you always need to think very in a difficult way, right? Great. Now I just want you to recap. Don't worry about this entire execution plan. Just want to show you some idea about the execution plan, how to read it. Execution plan always be read from the right side, right? So it is always from studied from the right side. Okay, so here you can see the node ID also. If you come here, this is node ID 4, this is node ID 3 2 6 6, right? But you need to read it from reverse manner. So now the first thing what you will read, you will see here, this is the cluster index scan. So scan is happening on which table? This jobs, right? On this table the scan is happened. It has taken the 73% of job the one. So this is total 100% always be shown here, right? This is just a simple plain table. Now this is filter, one of the execution plan operator. This is called as a operator. This is another operator. The scanning happen operator, then the cluster index scan, then nested loop joins happen there, then the compute CLR, and the final one is a select. So this is called as execution plan. Don't worry about the reading. I will tell you each and everything step by step, but just as to be familiar with, to tell you, the execution plan is a kind of a plan, it's a graphical plan basically, which tell you how the query is generating, how the query is pulling the data, right? Which index it is using, which operator it is using, how many cost, how much cost it's taking to retrieve the data, right? So and which logical operation are performing inside the database engine. All these things are captured and all these things are present on the screen, and all these things can be understood with the help of what? With the help of execution plan. Right. So execution plan is very simple. Reading the execution plan, if you are a beginner or if you are just starting one, is quite difficult, but if you are reading it again and again, it is one of the easiest way, right? Okay, so the next solution what I'll suggest for fixing the slowness problem is to create some indexes. So indexes always be created based on what? Based on the condition. Let's say I have a 2 table and there is a condition of the 5 or the 6 column. So indexes should be created on that 5 column only, and the column which are taking inside the select, right? So sometimes if you have the column on the condition 1, right, that is just a plain index, and this is called just an index, right, with this column, and sometimes we can realize that we also need few columns which are present in the select clause along with this column, right? So we create a new index. That index we call it as a covering index. You can go through my previous video. You will search. If you search, you will see the covering index. You can get a lot of idea about the covering indexes part. So what I am suggesting, then try to create index if it is same table. If it is a permanent table, then you need to be very precise, because creating a more indexes on a table will hamper the database insertion, updation, and the deletion, right? Because indexes will be created in the new table will be created basically for the indexes. Basic entire structure will be different for the indexes. So you need to create for indexes. First of all, you need to find is there any missing indexes suggestion in the database. If not, then you need to think about you're creating your own indexes. Okay, find out. Then after finding out the indexes, you need to run the query, and then you need to understand the execution plan. Is there any kind of waiting problem, or is there any parameter slipping problem, right? Then you need to see that you have just created index, that index is used in the query. Then you need to think, if you are just pulling a 10 or 50 records, that then what happening, table scan is happening or the seek is happening. You need to think about that. And also, if you are using the heap table, then is it good to use heap table or not? You need to think all those things while reading the execution plan, right? So all this thing can be understood. We'll try to cover each and everything in simplest way. If any point, if I miss, just message me or just comment me or this video. I will definitely try to incorporate that point in my coming video, or if I will first try to make a video on that topic, then I will move to my second topic. That will again be helpful, because I'm explaining because I know everything. I don't know how many guys, sorry, I don't know which thing you guys don't know, right? So that would be helpful for me, and that would be helpful for the people who are listening my video. I want to create this video for the help of people who are trying to learn performance tuning, and I want to share my experience with you guys so that it will be helpful for you, right? This is just you might be thinking that I'm speaking a lot in this video, but don't worry, this isn't just intro video. So intro video always be boring, so bear with me then. Yeah, then we need to read the execution plan. Back to it. Okay, sometime we need to, after fixing it, we realize that it is again not fixed. Then we need to think about the statistics. Statistics, right? Statistics are something like it's a history data for the query. When execution plan get created, execution plan will always be created based on the statistic. Statistics is something that is kind of history, that for example, we have a table. In the table we have a two column, and in the column how much distinct data we have in the column, how frequently data is get accessed, and the different parameters we have. So all those information, historical thing, are present in the statistic part. So this statistic information are very useful for taking the decision, for creating the execution plan for the buffer engine, right? Great. This is one. Then we need to go for index refactoring, index rebuilding, right? And sometimes we need to update the statistics for updating the pages. If the statistics is not updated, it will show you the wrong number of rows, which can hamper the execution plan. Then after fixing this, again we will see the one new parameter for the execution. That's a waiting stats or waiting type, I can say. So you can see here all this information. Just go to the properties. Here is a one section called as a wait stat. Let's see it is have there or not. So for this specific query we don't have, but there is a specific clause which deals with the waiting stats. So for example, if I'm running the code, right, and that code is running on the number of different core cores, right? Let's say I have 4 cores, so that query will be parallelly get executed on the 4 cores, and one of the core get completed first, and then it needs to wait for other 3, then second completed, then needs to wait for this other 2 complete. So this kind of waiting happen into the database system, and all those kind of the waiting things will be captured and stored right in the waiting stat. So we need to find out, is really does it require that query need to be executed on the multiple core or the single core, that part come into the waiting stat. So CX packet you might have guys seen it, right? So we need to understand that. Then there are a lot of concepts like the dirty read, lazy writes, all those things we will cover. And my intention is to start this kind of video. This video might be the small because I'm going to explain a lot of things, and I will not make next video this much one. Okay, so hope you guys understood that this is just intro video. We'll take a next example with a one stored procedure, and there I will show you how to fix the performance problem with real-time experience. I'm finding out the best example for you guys, because the company data or the company code I can't share with you because it's a public, and if the guys see you, they will definitely fire me. So I can't do that. It's a breach of contract, right? you can guys can understand. So I'm finding out the best procedure over the internet which can I use and which can I explain you guys to demonstrate the performance bottleneck or how to fix it. And one more idea I'm going to tell you that a lot of my friends also ask me to question that how to debug a store procedure or for the troubleshooting if they have any issue how to fix it. That video also I'm going to upload very soon. And thanks for watching. If you guys like my content or my video, please don't forget to share and subscribe with your community. Sharing the video or sharing the channel will help us to grow tremendously. It will help us to increase my subscriber base. So more the subscriber, more the comment, and the more the idea will be shared among us, right? So please try to share and subscribe to this channel, but it's not forced, right? It's your choice. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.